this whole process to me. All right.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, the whole process has been daunting. It's been tricky.
It's been,
You know what? I can appreciate now when people start a podcast at how much effort and work they've actually put into
you
it.
take a lot for granted how hard it is.
Yeah.
A lot of late nights, early mornings.
Yeah. Well, I thought running 100 Ks was hard. But this, I swear to God, right, this has been so much harder. Like, we've had issues with mics, we have had issues with the video, we've had issues with so many things.
It's not a simple plug in. Oh,
No,
it works.
it's not. But you know what? We're here now.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll do a little bit of an intro to you and me a little bit. So this is the Better by Next Week podcast. You're Oliver and I'm Tim Kaprazak. So we're father and son. And we're ultra runners, and we've started this podcast, I suppose, just to inspire the community into running and just showing them tips, tricks, inspiring them to get out that front door and hit the trails or the road or whatever it may be that they're into. So in regards to yourself, you've been running for about 3 or 4 years, and you've had some awesome accomplishments. You've had 2 wins at the 50-kilometre ultra running distance against men in the open category. You're the you don't want me to say it.
I never because there's one world record.
I know that there's one world record, but if there was an under 18 world record for backyard ultra, you would hold it. So
I've set the benchmark.
Yeah, so you've set the benchmark for anyone under 18 years old, which was 34 hours, which is about 230 kilometres, which is, remarkable. Like, I remember a backyard ultra that I did back in October, and I remember getting to that 34-hour mark and coming in, and you were crewing me with your mum and your sister, and I looked at your mum and I'm like, I have no idea how this kid has done this, because I was in so much agony at 34 hours, and I'm like, he did this at 15, and it was absolutely remarkable. But that's just a quick intro to you. You love your running, you love getting outdoors, hiking. We do a lot of that kind of stuff together, and I guess we talk a lot about running, and this is our opportunity to share it with the community.
Well, a little bit about you is you've been running for a little over 15 years now, and have some of your biggest achievements are probably you've represented the world stage 3 times now. So you've competed in the Backyard Ultra Satellite Chance. For those who don't know, is a sort of get together around the whole world where each country participate in a Backyard Ultra and start at one time correlating to Tennessee hour, which they start at 7 a.m. And so the rest of the world, you can either start at 1 a.m., 12 p.m. It all depends on time zones. And Dad's represented in 2 of those in Australia. And one other time when you went over to the States to compete in the individual world champs, where, you ran 60 hours there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I don't just run backyard ultras. I kind of, I started out, just running 6Ks. When I was in my late 20s, early 30s, I wanted to get fit, and I, stepped out the front door and went, what, I'm just going to run around the block, and it happened to be 6Ks, and, it was grueling. I, almost threw up. I stopped about 10 times, and it took me about 45, 50 minutes to do that. And I remember I couldn't actually walk for 2 weeks afterwards. And, that's kind of where I started. And then I've kind of, progressed. And
more recently, you've done a lot of point-to-point races like DU 135, Coast to Cosy, which is you run from Eden in New South Wales all the way up to Mount Kosciuszko. For viewers, that's the highest point in Australia. Yeah. And Down Under is the gnarliest, or we consider, and most people consider, the gnarliest race in the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah. Yeah, but I guess, the podcast is not so much about, our achievements and what we do. We kind of want to do the podcast about, what we've learned and what we can kind of bring to the table and hopefully inspire people, not just, elites that, might be able to get some tips and tricks off us, but also just people that are looking to get out the front door and run a kilometre or 2 kilometres, and play, talk about where they can do that, how they can do that, and those kind of first few steps to get motivated and things like that. So I guess the whole concept of the whole Better by Next Week is, for me, it's all the information that I've kind of gained over the 15 years of running. It's all up here, and now I'm hoping that it can come out here. And in that kind of vein, I want to explain to people that it's not that hard, and it shouldn't be that daunting to get out there. People are quite anxious about going out and running and doing those kinds of things, because if they're not doing it now, then they think, oh, well, how can I do it? Or even just listening to us, sometimes, some of our achievements, they're awesome. But you know what? The ones that we kind of don't mention are the ones that, when we first started out. Like, I remember the first time I started out, that Tim that walked out that front door and ran 6Ks, I'm super proud of that guy, because he had to do all the groundwork. He's the one that had to go and, not be able to walk for 2 weeks and do those things. And, so when I kind of look back on, 15 years of running, they're the most proudest moments that I have. That that guy, he was unmotivated, eating too many donuts and drinking too many beers, but now I kind of I look back at that time and go, well, everyone has to start somewhere, and I think on the podcast we want to talk about that from that moment to wherever you fall on that spectrum. It may be to, be on the world stage, but it might also just be that you want to run a fun run, 10Ks, or you want to run with your son or daughter 5Ks at a park run.
Building from what you said is, we have so many concepts about running, and it doesn't have to be implemented into just running and physically. It could be going into a job interview. Like, how we talk about taking that first step and belief. We can take that belief into so many different concepts, like, as I said before, job interview, a presentation at school. So it doesn't have to just be about running. But I guess what it means for me is, I often get this buzz at events, and it's almost like you're trapped in a bubble away from the rest of society. And everyone goes inside this bubble, loves what you do. Everyone talks about what you do, and it's the best feeling ever if no one's ever felt it. And for me, this doesn't happen too often because I'm not doing too many races each year. But I guess coming into this area and this space with you, and I'm able to talk about running, and that's where I get that buzz. And to be able to do this each week, and for our viewers to hopefully feel that buzz each week, I think that's pretty special.
Yeah, I mean, I always feel that buzz from people. Like, we were at parkrun yesterday, and there was a guy that finished parkrun and come up to us, and he's like, "Oh, how'd you go?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, not too bad. I had a good run." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, I was pumped. I did this and I did that. I was training for a marathon, and I was doing this and I was doing that."
And we love this talk.
This guy was absolutely pumped. And he was telling us his times for a marathon and how he ran 16 minutes for 5K. And I'm like, wow, that's super impressive. That's so cool. And, that buzz that you get, we want to kind of share that, yeah, like you said, with everyone else, and in this cool space to do it in. So, I mean, there's heaps of places where we've experienced that, especially obviously in races, but to be able to do it here with you is pretty special. So,
and especially a shared common interest, something that we both love. Another thing I like to bring and share experiences, especially for me personally, is that sometimes when I was younger, I would not be lost, but I would be confused on the direction I was heading in terms of running. Because you're so young, you're developing and everything. There's no studies about ultra running for young kids. And I don't want anyone else to feel, or especially young kids, I don't want them to feel that way, that confusion. So I feel like having this as a resource to help them out is really important.
yeah, that's a really cool way of putting it all. Like, I remember I said to you a little while back, I'm like, you know what, mate, write everything down, journal everything. And you started journaling and writing things down. Like, it might have been, pains in your knees, or, another issue that you might have had, like in your guts or something like that, things didn't agree with you. And there are a lot of things that actually don't happen to me. So to explain to someone that's younger, it's very difficult. But what I can do, and what I think what me and mum would do for you, would listen and be aware that these things were going on. And we're like, okay, those pains in your knee, maybe you're having growing pains. So then you would stop training for a little bit. right? And go, oh, you know what, take a few days off until that stops. So I think that that's going to be a really cool insight that you're going to be able to give to like younger viewers and listeners from your perspective, you know, because you're 16, you're still growing, but you're still crushing it out there, you know, on the trails and in races. And, you know, these kids are going to be super inspired. And how many times have kids reached out to you?
I've had multiple times, and I enjoy sharing my experiences and learnings because it's an amazing feeling that someone comes up to you and says, "Oh, I'm really inspired by your work. How do you do it?"
Yeah, and it's like I get very similar messages as well, and I'm always happy to help people. I very rarely do I look at a message and go, oh, I don't have time to. I'm like, I've always got time to talk running.
There's no secrets.
Yeah, and there's no secrets. That's right. Like I'm always happy to share with people because everyone does doing better. Everyone does it differently. Like you got. Guys like David Goggins, and people are super inspired by that. Like I remember you did GV Backyard Ultra.
This is a funny story.
And I remember you went out, it was like 6 o'clock in the morning, and you'd gone out on a loop, and I'm sitting there cooking my bacon and eggs for brekkie, and I think it was like 18 hours in, and I'm like, oh my God, like who is listening to David Goggins? And he's like swearing, and you got to get up, and you got to do this, you got to cry. I'm like, oh man, someone's trying to get inspired. And I look over, and it's your bloody phone on alarm, and then I'm like, oh my God, is my son waking up to David Goggins every morning?
Oh, that stuff would scare the hell out of me in the morning. It would really just give me a shock. I'm all right, I'm up, let's get out the door.
Oh, and but I'm like, oh, wow. So some people get inspired and want to be better, in that way. But then there's all different reasons. Like, when I first started, it was to lose a little bit of weight. Then I see some people and they want to, inspire their kids, to run and to chase their dreams. And some people are just doing it to look good or to feel healthy or whatever it may be. But at the essence of it all, everyone's just trying to be better. And they're trying to be better because it feels good. Like, how hard was it setting up this podcast? We have had days and days.
Weeks.
We have had weeks, but the last few days have been so trying. We've been trying to record. We've been trying to do this. We've practiced this. We've practiced that. We're like, yes, we've got it. And then next minute, no, we don't have it. But then, but because we want to be better, because we want to put on a good podcast, now we're here. We're doing it. And I'm like, oh, man. It's just, it's awesome. And at the essence of it all, I guess, is just wanting to be better.
Even for our audiences, like we'll have a majority of the time, probably younger generations will be looking at me and asking for advice. But also for you, you'll have older people asking for advice. I hate saying you're on the downfall because you're still a great runner, but you're on the downfall. And older people want to know, how are you still sustaining that your fitness and your training? How do you do it?
Yeah, and I guess over the coming episodes, we're going to kind of dig deeper into all different aspects of those kinds of things. Like there's so many insights that I have, and I think the beauty of it is that over the journey, I find as you age, you'll come up with different ideas and different techniques to make sure that you can keep on running, and they're the things that I want to share with people. And
it's always evolving. Training's always evolving with new science and everything, and that's things we want to share.
And that's what we got you on the podcast for, because you're always coming to me with all these new whiz bang ideas, and I'm
Dad's like, nah, old style.
Oh yeah, because I mean, you come up to me and go, oh, David Roach said, and David Roach said this, and then David Roach said that, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's awesome, but
the science backs it up.
Yeah, I know
the science is cool, but at the end of the day, if you it helps to go back to the basis.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like looking at those things, it's important because I guess going on from that, what are you essentially doing? You're building a template for yourself as a runner, and I think that's really important. We often talk about using a template for everything, but if you look at a runner and go, oh my God, I'm so inspired by this guy. And then, say the David Roach approach. right? The David Roach approach, right?
That's our new saying.
Yeah. So his approach is, it's real scientific based and stuff like that. And if you're like, oh, I want to be like him, and you do everything like him, it may not suit. It may actually hinder
Well,
you.
even for me personally, like I was dived head first into his training program, and I thought it was working, but I probably was pushing too hard because it wasn't me.
Yeah.
And that's where you're leading on to. You want to take a bit of characteristics from Phil and his mentality. You want to take a little bit of characteristics from Harvey Lewis, Sam Harvey, and build this template up into your own character.
Yeah, that's right. Because, these guys, like someone like Harvey Lewis, you look at him, he's doing a 90-hour race, and then 2 weeks later, he's running in one of the hardest events on the planet.
Let's just say, right. So he lives in United States of America, comes over to Australia, jet lag, all right, runs 90 hours, flies straight back over to United States, jet lag, and runs bad boy to 135.
Yeah. And he's done it, 15 years in a row he's done that. But and on 2 occasions, he's gone off the back of like almost 90-hour backyard ultras.
Well, even at some of them, he's podiuming.
Yeah, and he's an incredible athlete, and it's like, what can you take from him? You can take, his longevity. You could probably look into some of his nutrition for recovery, because it would have to be amazing. So
I do know that he's a vegan.
Yeah, so he's vegan. We'll cover all nutritional stuff in an episode as well, and even possibly have a nutritionist on as a guest. So that those things are going to be really cool to share with our listeners.
Did you say guest?
Yes, possibly some guests at some point. So yeah, we do have plans to have guests on the podcast. Obviously not every week, but it'll be cool just to kind of delve into things, take deep dive into whether it be nutrition, strength work, training philosophies, maybe belief, motivation, all those kinds of things. And, so people can kind of build that template that we're kind of talking about. Because, you look at someone like Sam Harvey, right? That guy has this unfounded belief in his own ability, right? Just to keep going and going. And, just recently, he ran for 118 hours and was the assist to Phil Gore. And that is some of the most remarkable belief mindset that I've ever seen. Phil looks robotic the way he was, racing, and Sam he was just grinding it. He looked so sore.
I was looking at the live stream, and I don't like to say someone's struggling, but he was struggling from at least 70 onwards.
Yeah, and he just like, no, I believe in my own ability to keep going. And that is like an amazing strength.
Grit.
Yeah, the grit. Yeah, so and I guess add that to your template. I look at him and I go, you know what? I want his grit and I want his self-belief.
But you don't want to be him.
But I don't want to be him. That's right. Because then I look at Phil Gore and I think, wow, like have a look at how methodical he is, how he's planning. And you know what? I reckon he's the only guy on the planet that I know that he'll write something down on a piece of paper and it'll happen, right? And that is incredible. Like
whether that's his food, his time, his showering, everything.
During a race, he'll write down, I need to eat this or I need to do this, and he just nails it. And he's like, that's what I said I was going to do that, and I was going to. And you know what? It's almost as if, when he's in a complete rational state before a race and planning something out, he goes, this is what's got to happen. For me to have that outcome and that goal, I need to make sure that I run like this. And he does it. So I guess, these are the kinds of conversations that we want to have and work out what it is to make, people better. But it's also not, the elite side of it is not all, everything that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, well, talking about our future with this podcast, we want to make the ideas so broad that everyone can relate. So there's not just targeted at elites, it's not just targeted at beginners, it's not just targeted at people who just want to run for fun. It's all of them that they can take each ideas and build themselves up.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I want to make this podcast what I wanted in a podcast when I started out running, because all I wanted was, the little nutritional tips, put some Band-Aids on your nipples, how to solve a blister problem, what are the best shoes for trail running, so all those things I want to cover, because there's a massive community of people out there that
are confused.
They're confused, and they're like, well, how do I get started? Because often I'll speak to people at work, and some of my friends, have gotten into running and things like that, and they make those little mistakes, and I'm like, oh, I don't want you to make those mistakes. I don't want you to have to do 2 or 3 races before you realize that you can, wear toe socks and that's going to help your blisters or those things. And like, I mean, I made those mistakes, and I'm glad I made them because it's made me the person that I am today.
That's another thing I have to add is that with all the 15 years experience you've given me, I almost wonder if it's better for me to make those mistakes, because sometimes I even forget to lube up before a run, and then I chafe, and it's not very fun in the shower.
No, we can hear you. We can hear you from the lounge in the shower, and you're right. It's not a pleasant feeling, but
But if people have the resources there, they're more likely to try it out, and they don't need to make those mistakes for themselves.
Yeah. Oh, and I mean, it can sometimes be a little bit embarrassing. Like, how many times have you seen, a runner running around in a white shirt with blood streaming down their chest? It's because they've chafed their whole nipples off, and it's like,
and that's what we're here for. Is the Gosh, I've lost the word.
what, inspiration?
No, I don't want inspiration from a band-aid. It's the advice. The advice is what I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Mind
true.
blank.
Yeah, but yeah, so I guess, and I think that, my growth, it took me a long time to grow as a runner. And I think that together, if me and you talking about these things and people drop us a comment and go, hey, Tim, or hey, Ollie, how do I solve this problem? Or how do I do this? Then we can share it on the podcast. We can talk about it, and then all of us grow together. And I think that, by sharing, that growth is just exponential, and it's accelerated as well. Like I reckon that you're at a spot in your running career that, you kind of don't really need too much more of my advice. I've kind of told you everything that I know, in 15 years, but I'm still learning. And now I'm learning off you, because now you're going and going, oh, you know what? I've learned a lot from Dad, but are there other theories on things? And I mean, we're going to bring them back here and have a chat about them. And then some of them I'll go, oh man, I don't know about that. People talk about taking on 150 grams of carbs an hour, and I'm like, whoa, that's a bit too much. But then let's talk about the science of it and how it works.
You're learning, I'm learning, and the audience is learning.
Yeah, that's right. So I mean, that's the best kind of outcome for everyone.
That's our goal. That's what we want.
Yeah, and I guess the thing is that with the podcast, we haven't just built the podcast. We've kind of built a website. We've built almost like this philosophy about becoming better by next week. And I'm under no illusion that people don't always have the time to go out and go for a run or anything like that, or listen to a podcast or read something. But we've kind of, it's in little bites. Like, so we've got a week. We're gonna, at the end of the show, we'll kind of release our little weekly challenge.
Yeah.
But we've got like a weekly challenge, so someone can try that. Or if they don't have time for that, they can listen to the podcast, which will be 45 minutes to an hour. If they don't have time for that, they can read one of our blog posts, because on our website, betterbynextweek.com.au, we have a heap of blogs about all these little things, like how to pick the best crew, how, that finish line feeling, how to motivate yourself to, feel that, I think. But there's so many different blogs that we've already got on there. And, people can read that, and that might only take 10 minutes. And then, even if you don't have 10 minutes, our weekly newsletter, if you sign up to it, it's a 2-minute read. But it's, it has a quote of the day, it has a really cool tip for running, and, it kind of has a quick summary of this week's podcast. And, it's a 2-minute read.
If you don't even have enough time for 2 minutes, you always got a little scroll.
Yeah,
and on our page, and it's 15 seconds of us talking.
Yeah, that's right. And then hopefully that inspires someone to get out there.
Because we completely understand that people have different priorities than listening to us and reading about us. Like just life struggles.
Yeah, well, life goes on. We all work. Like I work, I run. Then, I've got a family, I've got a wife, I've got a daughter. All those things in life, they pop up, and you've got to make sure that you're still managing them, but you've also got to have that little bit of time for yourself. And I think that when people see another person, I often used to think, before I ran, I'd see someone running on the side of the road on a Sunday or something like that, and I'd go, oh, geez, haven't you got anything better to do? I would laugh at that. Not laugh at that person, but I would kind of laugh to myself and go, oh man, I would rather be doing something else than that. because I couldn't understand why that person was doing it. And then I started running, and I'm like, oh my God, that's why they were doing it. Because you feel so good, you feel motivated, you feel, even just running, it improves so many things in your life. I always find my diet improves because I'm like, okay, I want to run a little bit further, or I want to run a bit faster, or whatever it may be. And I'm like, well, what can I change? And then you start looking at things. So it's like you go for a run and you come home and you go, well, I might not eat that packet of chips, or I might not. Not that there's anything wrong with any of those things. It's just that running kind of is the kind of gateway into
Builds a snowball effect.
yes, 100%.
Well, even I went on the track on Friday afternoon, and it was cold, it was wet, it was dark, and I see this kid out there in a wheelchair wheeling his way around the track, and I think, do you have anything like better to do? Don't you want to go inside? And he's there with his coach who's also in a wheelchair, and they're doing a session. And that really just inspired me to get out there and do my 400-meter repeats because I was really struggling.
Yeah, I remember that day, and it was windy. It was freezing cold.
It was gloomy. It was awful.
And I can't believe, that story. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, those people are the inspirational people.
I wish I had said to him, like, I genuinely do believe that he'd be an Olympian if he kept at it.
Yeah, you would, man. Next time,
Because that's what separates. That's what separates people.
That's right. The people that get out there and then just do it, and it's pretty cool. And I mean, we'll delve into a lot of these topics in the coming weeks and months. But I guess for people just starting out and wanting to know, what direction do they go, and they're like, you know what, I listen to those guys, and they it sounds like this running thing could be awesome. So I think if you're just starting out, you don't even have to run. You can just go out for a walk. There's even really cool community events like park runs, which are 5K runs every week for at 8 a.m. and there's hundreds of them around Australia, all around the world. Some people do the A to Z of park runs, so they might, we're in Bannockburn, so you would come and do Bannockburn.
I'm not too sure if that's actually how it goes.
Yeah,
I think
you
it's,
do.
It's not the place. I think it's something different.
No, it's the name of the.
Really?
Yeah, so Bannockburn starts with B. So if you've done A, then you would do B. So people try and get all those letters to
and
Z.
obviously Z and Y are.
Yeah, they're tough ones, I think.
Well,
to
we got
get.
a lucky one, Yu Yang's our local little
We
hills.
do too.
Yeah,
I didn't think
got a
about
Y.
that. Yeah, that's a pretty cool one. Yeah, so we've done that a few times too. But yeah, so for people starting out, that's an awesome place to go because, if you want to run fast and you want to run against some, fast locals, perfect place to go, right? But if you want to just take the pram or the dog, you can do that
There's
as
also
well.
stigmas around certain park runs. It's like, oh, we go over here and that's a fast park run. Like I know in some Melbourne suburbs, there's a lot of quick park runs there where people are running under 16 minutes, and that's where you can go to challenge yourself. But as you're saying,
Yeah, but you can also, but I guarantee you at those park runs, there's someone there with a pram and a dog as well. So that is, if park run is not the perfect example of community and running and people, motivating each other, like at Bannockburn, it is hard not to give up. Like even yesterday, high-fiving Dave and all the guys that we know, right? And you get that boost, and I'm trying to chase you down, and you end up beating me yesterday, which was fine. I'll cop that one.
passing of the torch.
Yeah, the passing of the torch. But yeah, so you've got like things like park runs, and you've also got. Even if you just Google like local running events, there's always like a run, say a run Geelong or run Melbourne or things like that you can kind of get involved in. And, they'll have 5, 10K distances. And you know what? The best way to, stay on the path and kind of, keep running and stay motivated is to sign up for one of these events. We have a local running company called Trails Plus, and they do some awesome events. And
All over Victoria.
yeah, and you know what? You can turn up, and same deal as a park run. You've got people that are just going out there, weekend warriors, having a crack, loving it, and then you've got elites as well competing, and then so you have that opportunity to run with those guys. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
And it's not like those elites are like, all right, we're going to come in, we're going to win the race, and we're going to leave. They talk. Like, we're all runners, and we all want to run and be better together. And it's not like they're shy of talking to people. They're all 100% talk. Like, I know that I would consider you to be an elite.
Oh, thank
right?
you.
If you go to a local Trails Plus run, you're not there like talking to the big boys. You're there helping other younger runners out. You're there helping those beginners out.
Yeah, because the thing is that those people, look, I don't want anyone to be under the illusion that I actually don't get anything out of it. I do. I get this massive buzz out of talking to people and seeing how, pumped they are. My biggest bugbear is when someone comes up to me and says, oh, I'm training for something, or I say to them, oh, what are you training for? And they're like, oh, I'm doing a half marathon, but it's nothing like what you've done. And I'm like, no, it's exactly like what I've done, because I'm out there trying to do my best at whatever distance I'm doing. Because there was a point in time that I was training for. I remember my first Tough Mudder. It was 20 Ks, right? And I was training for. I was wrapped. I thought it was the biggest event on the planet. And every person should think the same, because comparison is the thief of joy. And you do not need to be comparing yourself to anyone else, because your journey and what you're doing is just as special as what someone else is doing. Just because it's not the same distance, it shouldn't matter.
I have a similar situation that goes on at school, is that I often have kids come up to me saying what they've run, and it's obviously not as much as what I run, and they compare themselves. I'm like, no, like your achievement is if not greater than mine, because it's so personal to that person. And even if they ran 1 kilometer, that's 1 kilometer more than what their previous selves believe that they can do. Yeah. And I think that's incredible. And they should not compare themselves to me, because I think that as you said, everyone's achievements are great.
Yeah. I think actually it's funny that you say that, because like this week, the quote of the week on our newsletter is don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 6.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of resonated with me, that quote, because it's so strong and it's so powerful. Because if you're comparing yourself to someone else, you'll often beat yourself up a little bit, and because you're like, oh, I'm not there yet, and it's like, yet you're not there yet. And that's the thing.
I often catch myself looking at the elites and comparing myself to them, but they have had so many years of experience and learnings, and I'm just not there yet.
And I think that's a really cool takeaway. When you look at running, that I mean, this podcast, it was so hard to set up. Like we had no idea what we were doing, but we knew that we weren't there yet. And then now we're finally here. It actually feels nice.
It's nice just to relax.
Yeah, it is nice.
Sit back and just talk.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, all the organising, like I had a heap of fun. I had a heap of fun designing the website, doing all those things. But I guess the one massive lesson that I learned from setting all this up was that when things start to go wrong, you can't quit, and they're gonna go wrong, and that's part of that learning and overcoming, and it feels good. You know what? It feels amazing to be sitting here with you, my son, and being able to do this cool podcast and share it with the world, and the viewers, and then hopefully inspire some people.
If there was one lesson I could tell younger generation of runners, is that if something's going wrong, and I've experienced so many times where things go wrong in training and it's just not right, and I want to give you a call and everything's just awful, that it's okay. Like, it happens and it's supposed to happen, and that's what a journey is. A journey, if it just went straight, what's the point? Like, we do things because there is doubt there. If there was no doubt, it's like, we know what's going to happen. But because there's doubt, you don't know what's happening, and that's what makes it thrilling. That's what makes this podcast thrilling, is because we don't know where it's going to take us.
Yeah, I didn't realise it was going to take us till 1 a.m. last night to work out how to use a microphone.
Can we go to bed?
No, stay here. And you know what? You know what the funny thing was? Like so for anyone that's listening, it was like we had some microphone issues where things weren't coming great, and so we kind of put it down to another practice. But we stayed up pretty late trying to fix the problem, just could not work it out. And the first thing this morning that come to my mind, right, the first thought, I'm like, how about I try this? And that was the solution to our problem. And I couldn't believe that it was so simple and easy.
Sleep.
So sometimes you
sleep
need
on
to
it.
Yeah, sleep on it, and it'll come to you first thing in the morning, apparently. So, but yeah, I guess this has been a journey, and hopefully people can learn from what we're kind of trying to put out there, and find all different insights and different ways to do things, because we understand that not everyone does it the same way, but we want to make sure that the whole community kind of feels involved and gets around us, and don't be scared to reach out. And there's no silly
We
question.
love it. We
Yeah.
love it when we see a comment asking a question. We love it when people go, "Oh, it's not really for me, but I'm interested." But it's no, running is for everyone.
Yeah, that's right. And, but even, we talked about with the podcast what kind of direction we'd want to go, and I think some of the conversations that we had were a lot of them were around growth and becoming better. And running is our thing. Running for us is like the vehicle that we use for growth. And I think that a lot of people use different vehicles. Some people are artists and they paint, and that's their vehicle for growth. Or they might be a cyclist or a swimmer or whatever it may be. But they're all just trying to grow and get better. So I think there's going to be a lot of times where we cover topics that are, like you said, it's going to be pretty broad. And you might be a boxer and go, what those guys, what they were saying about growth, I think I can, use
You
that.
can apply that motivation and concept to your own individual goals.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that, in the future, when whatever topics they are, we're going to try and, cover a broad spectrum of, whether it be sports or whatever activities that you do.
People are interested in.
Yeah, that's right. And I guess, we've been talking for a little bit. It's been a fun little bit of the podcast, and I reckon let's bring this one across the finish line. And we spoke a little bit earlier about challenges and stuff like that and what we're going to do with the weekly challenge. And so what the weekly challenge will be, and everyone can participate. And this is the beauty of it. So every week we're going to have a challenge I'm going to have a challenge for Ollie. Ollie's going to have a challenge for me. And then we do that challenge during the week. And then we circle back after a week and see whether it made us better.
If people are unsure about what we say now, there's always that news article that's posted weekly if you want a little bit more information.
Yeah,
about
so our newsletter will be released at a very similar time to the podcast, and you'll be able to go, all right, that's what they're doing this week. I might choose Ollie's challenge because that kind of suits me better than Tim's challenge.
Or you can do both.
Or you can do both.
Extra challenge.
If you're greedy, you can do both. So, Ollie, my Better by Next Week challenge for you this week is something that I call time stamping. I'm not sure whether it's a thing already, but I just kind of named it time stamping.
He's the inventor of time stamping.
Yep.
In Caprazak.
Yep. So time stamping is something that I use for races and for long training sessions where I'll envision myself almost finishing that training session or that run. So it might be, for example, for a 20K run, it might be at, say, the 15K mark. So I'll start my run, and at about 3 or 4Ks in, I'll say to myself, what would you do to be at that 15K mark? I'll be like, I would love to be at that 15K mark. Oh, it'd be such a good, that's so far away. I'd love just to, be in that moment. And then I'll let that sit, and then I continue my session. And then when I get to that 15K mark and I'm struggling and it hurts, I say to myself, you know what? You would have done anything to be at this point, right? So don't get upset that you're here now and it's hurting, because 10Ks ago, you would have done anything for this moment. So I want you to try and do that, right? So on hard sessions or long runs, try and imagine yourself at nearing the finish of your training session and go, you know what, I would do anything to be here. So then it triggers you later on when you're in that moment, and if you're hurting, go to yourself, you know what, I would have done anything to be here. Now I'm here, I'm going to appreciate it and be grateful that I made it to this point.
So it's almost like you don't want to let your past self down.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah, that's right, because your past self is the one that worked really, really hard to get you to that point.
Yep.
So I call it time stamping, but it's for people out there, if they've got a race coming up this weekend or anything like that, they can use that. So you imagine yourself, if you've got a 100K race, imagine yourself, say, at the 10 or 15K mark, when you're still feeling good. That's the best time to do it. When you're still feeling good, you go, at 80K, I would do anything to be at the 80K mark. So then when you're at the 80K mark and you're like, oh my God, this is so tough, you go, oh, hang on, I would have done anything to be here, hours ago.
That's like the Backyard Ultra, where we often talk, both of us, about how pain is justified. So at the hour 7 mark, it's like, oh, everything hurts. I would just do anything to be 50 hours in and to feel this pain. And when you're 50 hours in, it doesn't hurt as much because it's justified.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. So try that this week, and everyone else, if they try that as well, let us know how you go because, it works for me, and I love it. I love it because it just makes me go, you know what, stop whinging about how you're feeling because you would have done anything to be here earlier.
Well, that's an awesome challenge. And in a way, my challenge is a little bit the same because they're both very mental. So I challenge you this week to, whenever your run gets or workout or anything that you're doing is really difficult, tell yourself that it's the best part of that specific activity. Because when you look back, I'll give an example. So I'll do a session. There's a warm-up, the workout, then the cool down. And I'm talking about running for viewers that don't know what I'm talking about. And when I look back at that session and I finish it, I don't look back and go, oh, gee, I'm glad I did that warm-up and cool down. Oh, that was tough. I look back at the session. I'm like, I'm glad I crushed that. And so when you're in that hard moment of the session and you're telling yourself it's the best bit, it really is, because that's the moment you look back on and where all your growth has been made. And I think that's how you should really appreciate those moments.
So that's the challenge for this week.
That's the
so when it
challenge.
gets tough, you want me to go, this is the best part.
Because it is.
Because that's where all the growth's happening. All right, cool. All right. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I guess we'll take those challenges away and then we'll report back to everyone on how we went. But yeah, for now, let's kind of wrap it up and just, say thank you to everyone that's, helped us get to this point.
This is a very special episode. If you are tuning in, you are the first listeners.
Yeah, coming in at the ground floor of this
The grand
thing.
opening.
So that's right. And I guess, to help me and Ollie, and we're never going to ask for anything apart from, I suppose, this. If you
A little bit hypocritical here.
Yeah, but if you can follow and subscribe, comment on any of our posts or on the blog or on a video, because, it really helps us grow the channel and grow the podcast to what we kind of we envision it to be, this amazing community of people trying to help each other and, be better by next week, I suppose. So, thanks heaps for listening. And that was a really cool, podcast. So I'm glad
We'll see you all next week.
Yeah. See you all next week.
Gotcha.
That's awesome.